Okay, Chapter 2, homework number 2, due Friday. For this homework, you must do 2-58. So let's look at this one. Barbara, Mark, and Carlos participated in the third heat of the big race. Barbara thought she could win with a 3-meter head start. Barbara has a 3-meter head start, even though she only pedaled 3 meters every 2 seconds. Mark began at the starting line and finished the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. Okay. Meanwhile, Carlos rode his tricycle so that his distance y from the starting line in meters could be represented by this equation, where x represents time in seconds. What is the dependent variable and what is the independent variable? All right, so we have two variables. X represents time in seconds, and the other variable is y, and that's distance. Now, if you remember, independent variable is always x, so here that is going to be time in seconds. All right, and the dependent variable is y, which is distance. And it says, distance in meters. So distance depends on the time. Distance depends on how long the race has been happening, whereas time itself is independent. Time is independent of the distance. All right, so using the information given above, graph lines for Barbara, Mark, and Carlos on the same set of axes who won the 20-meter race and will advance to the final. I'm just going to do one of these, and then you can do the rest. So I'll do the tricky one, which is Mark. Mark began at the starting line and finished the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. So Mark began at the starting line. So this is time. So distance from starting line would be 0. So Mark started right here. And he finished the 20-meter race in 5 seconds. So if we go over to 5 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's already at the finish line. So at 5 seconds in, 20 meters. All right, so there's Mark's line. Make sure you graph Barbara and Carlos, and then answer the question, who won? All right, and let me write, this is Mark, label. So write the winner. Okay, write equations that describe Barbara and Mark's motion. So again, I'll just do Mark. So Mark had a starting value of 0. Now let's find the growth. I'm going to draw a very large slope triangle. If you want to find slope or growth on the graph, you draw a slope triangle. Now, apologies, I can't use a ruler on my computer. Hopefully yours is straighter than mine. So the rise, or delta y, is 20. And the run, or delta x, is 5. So the slope is change in y over change in x, y on top, x on the bottom. It's 20 over 5, or 20 divided by 5. 4. Okay, so now let's use y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. The slope m is the number in front of x. The starting value b goes at the end. So my equation for Mark, y equals 4x plus 0. And since it's just plus 0, we're not adding anything. All right, don't forget to do Barbara. How fast did Carlos pedal? Write your answer as a unit rate. So Carlos has a starting value of 1, right? That's the starting value. And then the growth, or the slope, is 5 over 2. So here's what we're going to do. 5 over 2, that's 5 meters and 2 seconds. All right, now if we want to write our answer as a unit rate, we need the denominator to be 1. So if you did 5 meters in 2 seconds, how many meters in 1 second? All right, so to go from 2 to 1, you're dividing. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So let's divide the top and bottom by 2. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5 meters. And then that kind of makes sense, right? 2 seconds, 5 meters. So 1 second will only be 2.5 meters. When did Carlos pass Barbara? Confirm your answer algebraically. And we'll let you work on that one, just like from class. 2-40, state the slope and the y-intercept of each line. The number in front of x, that is slope. Just the number, don't write x. Some people write -5/3x for the slope, but that's incorrect. Don't write x. The slope is just the number. The y-intercept, that is going to be the number at the end. So in this case, it's negative. It's -4. All right. You can do B. C, your hint is when you have y equals a number, let's find that number on the y-axis. -5. So this line is a horizontal line that hits the y-axis at -5. I'll let you find the slope and the y-intercept. Please remember the adventures of Slope Dude. What is Slope Dude saying when he's going this way? And that's the slope. 2-41. Without graphing, calculate the slope of each line described below. A line that goes through these 2 points. So we need our slope formula. This is in your notes. All right, and then what we do is we pick one point to be point number 1, and we'll pick the other point. Ooh, this is 2,5. This kind of got cut off. 2,5. That's going to be point number 2. Okay, so 4,1. 4 is the x coordinate. 1 is the y coordinate. So here's our x1 and y1. For point number 2, it's also x comma y, but this is x2 and that's y2. So there's our x's, and there's our y's. So let's find our slope. y2 subtract y1. That's going to be 5 subtract 1. All right, so 5 and y1 is 1. Now let's substitute x2 and x1. x2 is the number 2, and it's 2 subtract x1 is 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. 2 minus 4, be careful, is -2. And don't forget about this guy. When you divide a positive number divided by a negative number, the outcome is negative. There's my answer to A. All right, let's try D. Point number 2, point number 1. All right. It doesn't matter which one you pick for point 1. It doesn't matter which one you pick for point 2, so you could go in either order. Just remember your slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, y2 is going to be 6, and y1 is also going to be 6. x2 is going to be 1, and x1 is going to be 1. Let's see what happens. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 10. So y2 minus y1 is 6 minus 6, and then x2 minus x1, that is 1, subtract 10. So that's going to be 0 over -9. That's going to be 0. 0 divided by anything is just 0. It makes sense because if you graph those 2 points and connect them, it forms a horizontal line. The y-coordinate is the same. So the slope is just going to be 0. 243. The graph at the right models the number of tiles in a tile pattern. Based on the information in the graph, how many tiles are being added each time? That is, what is the slope of the line? Pay close attention to the scale. The scale are these numbers. So it goes by 1 here, but on the y-axis, check this out. This is worth 10, this is 0, so I have to count by 2. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc. All right, so you can see that our starting value is here at 16. How many tiles are in figure 0? Well, figure 0 has 16 tiles. Okay? Then let's find the growth. So I'm going to draw a little slope triangle. Delta x 0 to 1, delta x from 0 to 1, so that's a distance of 1. But for my slope triangle, I go from 16 right here up to 20. So 16 to 20, even though it's only 2 boxes, it goes up by 4 because of the scale. So the slope is change in y over change in x. That's up over 4 divided by 1, and that's 4. All right, I'll let you finish C and D. 2-48. Miko has been going to barbecues this summer and keeping track of the number of people in attendance and the total number of burgers that were eaten. His data is shown in the table below. Graph the data should the points be connected. I'll let you work this out. That one doesn't seem too bad. You just graph the points. So on the x-axis, you can put number of people. And then on the y-axis, you can put number of burgers. And then should the points be connected, you might want to think about, can you have half of a person? Like, for example, can I put a point right there? Right? The answer is no. You can't put a point in between 0 and 1 because then you're saying there's a half of a person. So think about that as you answer the question. Should the points be connected? Okay, 249. Here's my equation. What is the slope? So hopefully this is not too bad. The slope is the number in front of x. What is the y-intercept? That is the number at the end, which in this case is -4. Okay, graph the line. Y-intercept, we'll put a point there first. Remember the slope is change in y over change in x. You can also think of it as rise over run. So from this point, you rise up 1 and you go to the right 2. Up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And you can go backwards in the same pattern. And that's the whole problem. 2-61. Write the equation for the following tile pattern. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 in figure 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 tiles in figure 3. 11 in figure 4. So figure 1 would have 5 tiles, and figure 0 would have 3 tiles. That is our starting value. All right. Our growth, it looks like 2 tiles are being added to each figure. So the growth is 2. Write the equation. Finish this problem. 2-62, graph the equation to the right. Let's identify the slope and the y-intercept, and you can graph it. The slope is the number in front of x, -2, and you can put it over 1 if that's helpful. So because slope is rise over run, that means -2 means down 2, and +1 means go to the right 1. So negative slope, we're expecting the line to go that way. And the y-intercept is 9, so put a point at 9, and then finish this one. That point goes there. Okay, 263. Explain what the slope of each line below represents, then determine the slope and give the units. Let's do B. So let's make a giant, if you want to find a slope, you draw a slope triangle, right? I'm going to make a giant slope triangle. That's 0. So my delta x from 0 to 10 is 10. Change in y? Well, change in y for this from 0 up to 9,000. The change in y is 9,000. So the slope is change in y divided by change in x, and 9,000 divided by 10 is 900. Now we need units, and then we need to explain. So look at our units. The units of the 9,000 on the y-axis are gallons, and then the units on the x-axis are time in months. So 9,000 gallons in 10 months. All right, so we're going to do our answer, 900. Let me make some space. 900 gallons per month. All right, now let's do a sign check. Sign check. This is decreasing. So when we do our sign check, we make sure our answer is negative. So maybe I should have made this negative 9,000. All right, now explain. Well, we have water in a storage tank and time in months. So it looks like what's happening is 900 gallons of water get drained from the tank every month. Get drained every month. It's going down. The water level is decreasing, and eventually the water level is 0. So 900 gallons of water get drained every month, not day, every month. Okay, I'll let you do A. Don't forget about the adventures of slope, dude. What slope is that? 264. Calculate the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points. Okay. We have another one of these. We need to use our formula, our handy dandy slope formula. All right, here's our points. I'll pick this to be point number 2, and I'll pick this to be point number 1. It doesn't matter. I could have done 2, 1. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. Okay, so this point is going to be x comma y, and since it's point 1, we'll call that x1 and y1. This one is point number 2, and because a point is in the order x comma y, this is going to be x2 and y2. All right, so our y1 is 70. Our y2 is 10. Our x2 is 5, and our x1 is negative 15. Let's plug these numbers in. Y2 subtract y1. That is 10 subtract 70. Okay, and then on the bottom, we have x2 subtract x1. That's 5 subtract negative 15. Be careful with the sign. You're subtracting a negative 15. So on the top, it's 10 minus 70, which is negative 60. And on the bottom, 5 minus negative 15 is just 5 plus 15. They add. A double negative becomes a plus. And that's 20. So we have negative divided by positive. Outcome is negative 3. 20 goes into 60 3 times. 2-66. Greta is opening a savings account. Her starting value is 100, and she's going to grow it by adding 50 each week. Okay, so the growth, if you didn't catch that, is 50 per week. And then the starting value is $100. That's how much she starts with. Okay, what is the unit rate? Well, we're talking about money versus weeks. So, how many dollars are added in 1 week? 50. They give it to us. So they give us the unit rate. $50 are added in 1 week. You could also kind of write it as $50 per week, which is fine. That's another way to write unit rate. I'll let you write the equation, and I'll let you figure this out. Just remember, 1 year is equal to 52 weeks. We're in weeks, so think about 1 year as 52 weeks. 267. Review what you know about graphs by answering the following questions. What is the equation of the line graphed at the right, and what are its x and y intercepts? Let's find the x-intercept first. The x-intercept is where the line hits the x-axis. I'm going to say it hits the x-axis right in between 0 and 1. So the x-intercept is 1/2, comma, 0. Now the y-intercept is where the line hits the y-axis, and I'm going to say it hits the y-axis exactly at 1. It looks like it goes right through at 1. So the coordinates of this point are 0, comma, 1. If you want some help with the equation, I'll help you with the slope. Slope on a graph, draw a slope triangle. Don't make it crooked, make it a right triangle. Alright, and we have our change in y and our change in x. The change in x is 1, the change in y is 2. And it's going to be negative 2 because we're going downhill. So it's negative 2 over 1, and that's just any number divided by itself is, any number divided by 1 is itself. So we need an equation. You need a starting value and make your equation. Sign check, the slope is negative. Wednesday, solve the equations. Alright, let's do A, and let's do D. So for D, combine like terms. Left side looks good. On the right side, I have 5x and plus x. 6x minus 21 equals 6x plus 17. Now let's take away 6x on each side. Oh look, the x's are gone. They both cancel. So what's left? Negative 21 equals sign 17. That's false. So what do I write? I write no solution. X is gone. It's false. No solution. That's the answer. A. Combine like terms. Combine like terms. I can't. Looks good on both sides. Like terms are already combined. So now I pick the smaller x. The smaller x is 2x, and I make it go away. 2x minus 2x, it cancels. So I have an 8, a positive 8 equals 3x minus 2x is just x, x minus 4. So x minus 4 equals 8. Adding 4 to each side, x equals 12. 2-74. Each part below represents a different situation. For each situation, determine the pattern of growth and the number of tiles in figure 0 or the y-intercept. Okay, so let's look at C. Now let's look at D and let's look at A. If you look at A, you count the tiles, you figure out figure 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. 13 tiles. And then you count. It looks like in this one, what's getting added? These are getting added. So it's plus 5. It's going to be 18. In figure 4, we have the 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top, 1 on the right. So we're adding 5 more tiles, 23. So if we go back to figure 0, so we got figure 1 and figure 0. This is going to be 8, right? That's going to be 3. 8 plus 5 is 13, 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay, so figure 0, 3 tiles. What else do we need? We need the pattern of growth. Well, we got that. Grows by plus 5 each figure. Nice, we're done. Now let's do D. So for D, x is your figure number. So find where x is 0. Find figure 0. Here it is. And your y is your number of tiles, or the y-intercept in this case, which is 3. If you think about it, this is the point 0, 3. And if you were to graph 0, 3, it would be right there on the y-axis. So you can write 3, or you can write the coordinate point. Both are fine. We also need the pattern of growth. So let's inspect how the tiles are growing. So 18 to 13, that's minus 5. 13 to 8, minus 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 minus 5, we're into the negatives. 3 minus 3 is 0. So 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And then we keep taking away 5. We got the idea. Growth equals negative 5. All right, which situation is growing, don't forget about E, the fastest? Definitely not D because it's negative, but maybe A. Calculate B and C and figure out which one is growing the fastest. 2-85, calculate the slope of the line passing through each pair of points below. All right. m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I don't have a lot of space, so I'm just going to erase on this one. I'm going to pick this to be point number 1, and I'm going to pick this to be point number 2. X comma y, x1, y1 for point 2, x comma y, that's x2, y2. y2, negative 1, y1 is 2, x2, 4, x1 is 1. Alright, so y2 minus y1, that's going to be negative 1 minus 2. Okay, and then x2 minus x1, x2 is 4, 4 minus 1. So we have negative 1 minus 2, and that is negative 3. Careful there, negative 1 subtract 2 becomes even more negative, and 4 minus 1 is 3. Now you have a negative divided by a positive, so the answer is negative 1. Let's look at D. Pick this to be point 1, pick that to be point 2. We have x1, y1, x2, y2. x1, y1, x2, y2. Coordinate points always have x come first and the y number comes second. This is x1 because it's point 1. This is x2 because it's point 2. Now let's see what we got. So x2 matches to 50, x1 matches to 55, and let's plug these in and figure out the slope. Okay, y2 is 68 minus y1 is 67. x2 is going to be 50. Is that 50 or 56? 50. And then x1 is going to be 55. I think. Yes. 68 minus 67 is 1, and 50 minus 55 is actually going into the negative. So 1 divided by negative 5. So you're going to write your answer as 1 over 5, and then remember this guy. A positive 1 divided by negative 5 means the outcome is negative. So you put the negative sign in front of the fraction. Aziza got 1 for the slope of the line on part A. Explain to her the mistake she made and how to calculate the slope correctly. So looking at her slope, I think what she did was probably she put a negative divided by a positive as a positive 1. Right? So she just forgot this last step. Negative 3 divided by 3 should be negative, because a negative divided by a positive stays negative. So you just say something like that. Anything is fine. A negative divided by a positive stays negative. Remember the face looking thing. This thing. Alright, 286. Does the table appear to represent a function? If so, write an equation. If not, explain why not. So what they want is f of x equals mx plus b. And so instead of writing y is just equal to f of x. They're the same thing. So instead of writing y, you write it with the function notation. And let's see, the input of 0 has an output of 4. Input of 1 has an output of 8. Input of 2 has an output of 12. So yes, it's a function. It's a function because each input has only one output. Alright, now we find the growth. So we're looking here, 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. So obviously this growth pattern is consistent and the growth is equal to 4. What about the starting value? Figure 0. 4 tiles. I'll let you write the equation, but it pretty much set everything up for you. Don't forget about f of x. 2-94. The point is on a line with that slope. So this point is on the line with that slope. Let's write the equation, and then you can work on b. So I'll help you with A. Y equals mx plus b. That's our equation, right? All right, so they give us just 1 point. So we don't need to do x1, x2, y1, right? That's only if you have 2 points. If you have 1 point, let's call x coordinate x, and let's call the y coordinate y. X is 21, and y is 32. All right, the letter m is slope. So we also need to assign m to be the value of 1.5. Okay, so let's replace everything, and then remember, you leave the b. Leave it b. Don't touch it. Y is 32. So starting it off. Y is 32. Equal sign. M times x. M times x. That's 1.5 times 21 plus b. Leave b. Leave the b. Leave it alone. Okay, so we have 32 equals 1.5 times 21. Calculator. Just use the calculator. And that's going to be, let's see, 1.5 times that. Half of that is 10.5. So 21 plus 10.5, that's going to be 31.5, right? So use your calculator if you're stuck on that one. All right, and then you solve for b. 31.5 plus what is 32? It's just like a simple equation now. Even though it has a decimal, it's still not that bad, right? You just take away 31.5. And 32 minus 31.5 is, of course, 0.5. There's my b. There's my slope. Now it's time to write the equation. Y equals m times x plus b. So y equals 1.5x plus 0.5. Don't forget to do b. What are the coordinates of another point on the line? I'll let you figure that one out. 298. Match the graphs. Pay special attention to the scaling. Explain how you found each match. Okay, let's look at A. Has a starting value of 4. So that has a starting value of 4. This is 0, so 4, 8, 12. So that has a starting value of, they all have a starting value of 4. Darn. So we're going to need to use the slope. So this one has a positive slope. This one has a positive slope. This one actually has a negative slope. Oops. And then this one over here has a positive slope. I was kind of sloppy with this. Which slope is the biggest? This one. This one has the biggest slope, so it's going to be the steepest. Which one's the steepest line? Well, that's going downhill. That's the only negative one. So that's definitely D, because it is the only line with a negative slope. That's the slope. All right, now let's check the others. Which one is the steepest? Well, it's kind of hard to tell because of the scaling, so we might just have to do this the manual way. Let's draw a slope triangle for this one. So that's 4. All right, and these are going by 1 and also by 1. So this makes it easy. That has a vertical distance of 4 and horizontal 2. So the slope is y over x. That's 4 over 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So obviously that has to be c because it's the only line with a slope of 2. And that's it. All right, have a good night.